not that I don't want you here. It's something about the way you stare into my...
Hi, hello, how are you? My name is Elijah Vin, and let's talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day. Spoiler warning ahead, so if you have not watched the movie, go do that and then come back to this video. I've seen the movie now 3 times, and I took notes while I was in the theater. I should say after I left the theater, and as you can see, here are my notes, and let's get right into talking about it. So, in my opinion, this is the best live-action Spider-Man movie that we've gotten since the maybe original with Tobey. It's my personal favorite, that's definitely for sure. The Spider-Verses, I don't think it touches those. And if I had to rank, my top 3 would be Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, Brand New Day. Now, I don't think it's a perfect movie because I don't think there's any such thing as a truly perfect movie. But in terms of the character, I think this is the best portrayal of Spider-Man that we've gotten in live action as a whole. To me, it just feels so authentically Spider-Man, and I think that is credit to the love and the energy that Tom Holland really gives his character. I think the way that they handled loss, the way that they handled moving on, the way that they handled mental health, depression, all these types of hard discussions was handled. It was all handled with such grace, and I think it really gives into the story of, you know, Peter losing MJ, losing Aunt May, losing Ned, you know, losing Tony even, you could say, and then diving into work so hard that he literally forgets everything else. He has no human interaction. He has no friends, no family. He's just work, work, work all the time that he forgets himself. And, you know, like they say in the movie, sooner or later you're not going to know where the spider ends and the man begins. Like, that's how hard he's going in. And I think that the director did just such a good job incorporating such hard topics into such a fun comic booky movie and not having it feel disingenuous or cringy or out of place. The colors in this movie were really beautiful, really vibrant, really livened up. And another thing I really loved was the web swinging in this movie. I think that the web swinging is the best version of it that we've seen since Andrew Spider-Man. I think Andrew Spider-Man was the peak of web swinging, and I think that they really did a good job of kind of not mimicking, but making it their own in this movie. When he is starting to swing, and it's like first person mode, and then a shaky camera, and then even at one point when he's on his way to the tank, he swings, stops midair, and cracks his knuckles in the air before going in to do his work. And I just think it's the attention to detail that really makes it stand out and really makes it work for me. And I think in comparison to the Home trilogy, the Home trilogy felt very CGI, felt very artificial, didn't feel like he was really swinging. And in this movie, I just think you could look at the screen and think they shot that for real, because a lot of it they did. And I think that took it to a whole nother level that the Home trilogy couldn't reach for me. At the beginning of the movie, we kind of see Peter going through a 4-year period of his life, you know, after the events of No Way Home, where everyone forgets him, and he's watching Instagram stories from Ned and MJ as they're going off to MIT simultaneously while he's doing this whole 4-year montage of fighting villains, getting the key to the city, you know, getting beat up, doing his dirty work. And I just think the contrast between him having no personal life and him diving into being so invested into Ned's stories is just so dope as like a concept to open the movie, which really leads into the core of the film. And I just think the whole opening sequence was brilliant and a fantastic way to open the movie. Another thing I really liked was Spider-Man's relationship with Jean DeWolf, because I just think their dynamics go together so well. You know, kid from Queens, super New York, Puerto Rican detective. Like, I feel like they went together so well. And I love their arc because, you know, at the beginning of the movie, she's like, you know, you don't even know me, you don't ask me questions, you don't even know my kids' names. And he goes, well, I know your son's name is Poppy, which is just wrong. But then fast forward to the end of the movie, she's telling him to take a rest, and he goes, all right, well, tell your kids I said hello. And he calls them by their names. And I just think that whole arc is beautiful and shows that Spider-Man needs that human connection, and I'm just so glad that at the end of the day, he has somebody that he can confide in, that he could talk to, and that he can have a strong bond with. Also, another dynamic that I really loved that I really didn't expect to love as much as I did in this movie was the relationship between Peter and Frank. I just think they did a good job at incorporating his rated R usual style into a PG-13 more fun way without taking away the core of his character. Like, his character still worked. You know, I think their banter was top notch. You know, it was funny, the Staten Island thing they kept calling back to, was really, really funny and really good. And then at the end, when Peter takes the bullet for Jean, Frank ends up giving him his flowers because he starts to realize that Peter's just a good person. You know what I mean? Like, the action of him taking that bullet for the person who's been actively ruining his life, playing mind games, taking over people in the city, doing so many terrible things, to still take that bullet, I think, really proved to Frank that Spider-Man is the real deal and Peter's just a good guy. Now, let's take a minute to give some flowers out ourselves to all the actors and all the people who played the inhabited characters throughout the movie, the inhabited citizens of New York in this film. The old woman in the tank was great. Her transition from inhabited to back to normal was amazing. The tone switch was great. The girl at the end of the line, as Jean is headed to MJ, she did a fantastic job. Facial expressions on point. But the biggest standout to me is this guy right here. Now, I'm not going to say his name just because I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to botch it because I truly don't know how to pronounce it. But I'll put it up over here. He took his time that he was given to do this character, and he ran with it, and he killed it. Some of the best 5 to 10 minutes of acting from a side character that I've seen in a movie in a while. The way his expressions, the way his tone, the way he carries himself within the scene is fantastic. It is great, and I really think he deserves to get work from this, like real roles from this. And I really hope to see him soon because I cannot say enough good things about him. Gotta give him his flowers. I think the incorporation of MJ and Ned into this specific story after the events of No Way Home, I think they did it perfectly. I think it makes perfect sense for Peter watching them from the outside looking in through Instagram. Really, he doesn't really know them in the stage in their lives. And I think the moment he gets to the party, he stumbles across the board, he has an interaction with Ned and MJ. In my opinion, this might be the best on-screen chemistry that MJ, Ned, and Peter have had. And I know that's saying a lot because they don't know each other in this movie, but I really think this is the best interaction that they've had in any of the movies so far. Let's talk the Hulk. The Hulk in this movie is the best use of the Hulk in any MCU movie since maybe the first Avengers movie. I think the look of the Hulk, like, we've had Smart Hulk, we've had Banner, we've had frickin' Banner in a Iron Man mech suit in Infinity War. Like, I'm so happy we finally got a full, not only a Hulk transformation, but like a full Hulk fight. Like Thunderclap, the Stomp, all of it. Like, it was just dope all around. Like, I feel like in the past, Marvel has treated the Hulk more like a CGI problem that they have to work around because they need him to be in the movie rather than an actual alive, fully breathing character. And I feel like in this movie, he is perfect. And the fight scene is, I can't say enough good things about the fight scene. Spider-Man versus the Hulk will be a fantastic fight in any universe, and I think the director of this movie nailed it, and I think he deserves all kinds of flowers because this is, in my opinion, the first time the Hulk has been properly used in the MCU, and I really hope to see it more. Jean Grey. The big question is she too evil in this movie? Is she irredeemable in this movie? My answer, my take, no. I think she's not too evil. I think we as viewers are so used to the X-Men universe where Jean Grey was taken as a child by Xavier, brought to the X-Mansion, and is brought up by Professor X. And this is a whole different character. This is a Jean Grey whose mom abandoned her, whose sister was kidnapped and tortured and killed. Obviously, she doesn't know that for the majority of the movie, but still, this is all relevant in the end. And then a Jean Grey who doesn't have a Professor X, who has this cosmic power and doesn't really understand how to use it. Also, she's a teenager in this movie. So obviously, I think she's acting on pure emotion more than the moral good. And I think that's why she is redeemable. And I don't think she's too evil because she has no structure. She's just doing what she thinks she needs to do to get revenge and find the damage control people who kidnapped her sister, which I think is fully valid. Why? I mean, why would it not be? And then, obviously, the most tragic reveal the whole movie we're told VMAX. She's looking for something called VMAX. Where is VMAX? Tell me what VMAX is. She finally gets taken, and keeps asking, what is VMAX? My sister sent me a message, what is VMAX? And we think it might be a weapon. We think it might be nuclear codes. We think it might be alien tech. But it turns out that it's just a vent that her sister was looking at as she was being tortured and being killed and being experimented on. And it was the last message she sent to Jean because her brain was so fried that that's the last freaking thing she saw before she died. If that's not the most tragic twist in a Marvel movie in a long time, I don't know what is. And therefore, I think she's justified 100%. I think Metzger should have, frankly, not made it out. This is a different Jean. We need to separate this Jean Grey from the Jean Grey that we all know and love from the X-Men movies. This is a different character, different arc, different situation. And it is what it is. 2 moments with MJ that stick out to me the most. Obviously, they stick out to me because they're the biggest moments with MJ. When he goes to get her because Jean is threatening to visit MJ. And they go and they get on top of that building. And she says, did we know each other? I think this is some of Zendaya's best acting, because there's a moment when she's saying all this stuff about, maybe I remember you, let me see you. And then she kisses him. And then there's a moment in this where you can see where Jean is in her head and it's no longer MJ. Like you can tell there's a moment where it's clear that this is a different person. This is not the MJ that we know. And I think the way Zendaya plays it is fantastic. Some of the best acting in the movie. And I think this moment it's diabolical, because, the whole, touch her, hold her. It's just insane mind games. I love that moment so much. And then when she kicks off the building and Peter has to save her, when she's falling and you can see where she goes from smug to scared because Jean has left her consciousness, the turn from smug to scared is so amazing because it's such a good piece of acting, just facial work alone. And I think Zendaya is fantastic in that scene, and I think that scene is one of the best scenes in the movie. Diabolical, but fantastic. The other one being when Peter comes back after beating the Hulk, after putting the inhibitor on Jean, and she's sitting there with the note that he wrote her 4 years ago. How depressing is this? I'm of the thinking that Peter should have told her that day when he walked into the donut shop, because things would have been different. Because I don't understand how you expect her to live 4 whole more years of her life, go to college, pretty much have a whole nother life, and then, obviously, I guess he wasn't planning on telling her, but then coming back, and when she reads the note, then telling her that you love her, and that you can't live without her, and all this hoopla, and expecting her to maybe reciprocate that. No, dude. Like she says, I don't love you because I don't even know you. Like, obviously. And that's not to say that maybe she doesn't want to get to know him. That could be a thing that happens. But in that moment, she doesn't know him. She doesn't love him. And I think that's so powerful that and also I think it's so powerful that he, in the end, still took her home. Because I think a lot of guys, and I've seen a lot of discourse online where there's a lot of toxic masculinity out there saying they would have left her on the boat, and she would have been on her own. But no, that's why Peter Parker is Spider-Man, because he's a good person. And that is shown at the end with Frank and all that kind of stuff too. So that scene is so powerful, and I really hope that something correlates in the next movie for them. Another quick thing that I really loved was the music in this movie. I think the Tame Impala of it all worked so well going into that party scene. It fit so well, and that song is just dope all around. And then Steve Lacy and the end credits. That, I think, is my favorite end credits. Not the credits themselves, but the photo, the video frames of the New York life and happenings around the city with, starring Tom Holland, starring Zendaya, with the Steve Lacy in the background. I think that is one of my favorite recent MCU end credit title sequences, and I think it deserves more love. Bad Bunny, Steve Lacy, Tame Impala, elite music choices to whoever music supervisor, to whoever picked those out. One more thing about the MJ of it all that I really love is when she invites him back up after, you know, telling him she doesn't love him, she doesn't even know him, all this stuff. She invites him back up. He meets Ned, and they are building Legos. They have a cute little moment, and then he goes to get food, and she shows him a drawing that she drew of them playing with Legos, but with his mask off, and says, "You guys look like best friends." I wanted to cry because that is such a precious and amazing moment. And it's also a callback to when she says in Homecoming, you know, in detention, I like to draw people in distress. It's kind of a little callback to her still being an artist in that way. And I just love that little detail. I have to say, the Hulk fight was amazing, but my favorite fight personally was the fight with the hand in the jail cell. Their moves are so amazing. Even Peter in the movie, as they're powering up to literally try to kill him, he goes, "Oh, that's cool." Because you can't help but think that shit is dope. Like, ugh. And then obviously the whole people like us don't get a happy life. Are you Spider-Man or are you Peter Parker? You have to choose. Does the web, stop the sword, and says, "I'm both." So freaking dope. Best fight of the movie. Hulk fight was amazing. The hand fight was better, in my opinion. The ending of this movie, when Peter finally gets in the door, Jean is holding glass up to Metzger's face, and she freezes him, and he says, you know, "Go inside my head." She goes in, gets the whole talk from Aunt May. I cried during this moment. Doesn't matter. Irrelevant. I cried all 3 times that I saw it. Whatever. Beautiful moment between Aunt May and Jean Grey, and then Jean Grey and Peter. And then Peter hears Frank load his gun, cock it, and shoot. This is what makes Peter Parker Spider-Man, because she is taking over people's minds. She's playing mind games. She is actively ruining Peter's life. But in the time of need, when she's about to get shot, he still takes that bullet for her. And that is the epitome of what it means to be Spider-Man. Most people, I don't think, would have done that. And that's what makes him who he is. And I think that's so dope. And then in turn, when he's taken to the hospital, she uses her powers to breathe for him to keep him alive, as a kind of return the favor kind of thing. And I just think that whole thing was so dope, and one of the most emotional parts of the movie, and one of the parts that I cried the most at. Again, I really love this movie. I really think that this is my favorite live action Spider-Man movie so far. I really hope we get, I hope we get another 2 at least with Tom, because I think Tom is the most Spider-Man to me. I think he just makes the most sense. And I really implore you guys to watch this movie, watch it again, watch it twice. I mean, it's already broken up box office records, and it's only been out for a week. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you back with another video next week.
Yeah, I make decisions to glow. Ridiculous flow, potential to glow. You know, I just do that.